I call this meeting to order. Welcome to our council meeting for February 24, 2026. In the interest of time, efficiency, and ensuring everyone who wishes to address the council is given the opportunity to do so, the following will apply to all comments made by the public in person and virtually. Virtual participation in council meeting are available on your computer or smartphone via Microsoft Teams or by telephone. You can learn how to participate virtually by visiting our website, www.clermontfl.gov, and search for Attend Council Meeting Online. Each speaker will be permitted 3 minutes to address the council. In an effort to be respectful during the meeting, please make sure your cell phones are set to silence. Thank you for participating in your city government. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Sean Court of Freedom Prospective Ministry. Please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Am I doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
No.
Okay, just invocation. Okay.
Invocation.
Okay, just making sure. Amen. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to stand together in unity, Lord. And respective of whom we serve, who we call our faith in, we just come together with one heart and one mind to serve under you. You are the ultimate shepherd. And we ask that you bring our minds together. We first thank you for waking us up in the land of the living, because somewhere, somehow, someone said goodnight to their loved one last night, not realizing they were saying goodbye. So we first thank you for life and the spirit of life. We thank you for this opportunity to be here as leaders who care for our community and serving in a common good. And we give you the glory for giving us a heart of unity and a heart for one another, not just a heart for being right, but a heart for being righteous before you. So we ask that you give us that spirit of humility to serve, to speak, to not hear, but also to listen, and to serve and to administrate from a common heart with a common good. In Jesus' name we say, amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, making sure. Is this where I debut my stand-up, or is this where I sing, or is this, okay? So, given the opportunity to speak about Black History Month, and I'll just take for the next hour, what I want to share is making sure you're all awake. You know, it's the end of the day. You're like, is he really going to speak for an hour? Well, I'm a pastor. That's what we do, right? So, understanding sustainability and understanding unity. That's what this is all about, right? Because in a nation of true unity, there is no need for a Black History Month, a Women's History Month, a Hispanic Music Month. It's because we all are one. But we've gotten to a part today where we all are separated because we are all about agenda and history. We know the old colloquialism, history is his story, right? And understanding that history changes, just like you recall different things from different situations. We can rewrite our memory. We can rewrite our history. We can rewrite our hearts. But the most important thing, you can't rewrite facts. And so, given the opportunity to speak briefly about Black History Month, you would expect me to talk about all the Black first and all the great things we've participated. Whether it is you grew up in a wonderful metropolis like New York City, like me, where we have an opportunity to see everybody at their best. Or if you're in Podunk, Idaho, where everybody looks the same, everybody talks the same, everybody thinks the same. And when you see diversity, it's when you turn on the news or a CSI TV show. And that's about it. And I came down from New York to Orlando, and I stood on a corner, and I saw a Hasidic Jew, I saw an Asian, I saw a Middle Eastern person, and I saw a Latino. And I thought they were filming a commercial, because that's the only first time and the last time I think I saw that much diversity on one street corner. It's changed a lot since then. But what I wanted to share is, in the spirit of Black History Month, or whatever it is, you know people who look like me, know people who have variances of people like me, is understanding that in order to go fast, you go alone. But to go far, you go together. And this is a nation that was built on pluralism. But what I would hate to know is that another 250 years from now, if the Lord delays his coming, they scratch their head and they say, hey, remember the Ottoman Empire? Yeah, ooh, yeah. Remember the Ming Dynasty? Yeah. Remember Mussolini? Yeah. Hitler? Ooh. Remember slavery? Yeah. Remember. Hey, United States. Oh, snap. United States. Whatever happened to them? 250 years, and then phew, they were gone. The social experiment failed. Because maybe they lost their vision that they were just trying to go far or just go fast, but not go together. So it's not so important that where this country is going, because let's talk about a couple of quick black history facts, right? Since that's what I was asked to come and share. So we know the origination of civilization was in Alkebulan. Alkebulan, what's that? That's Africa, before the Romans named it Africa. And so...
Speaking to the mic so we can hear you.
Better? Okay, because I didn't want my back being turned to you. I'm kind of... But can you hear me, though? I can talk louder. I was raised in Brooklyn. That's how we do. But anyway, so I say that all to say, and thank you for bearing with my humor, is if Africa, or El Kebulan, is the origination of where life and civilization came from, if God wanted to keep it just people of color, he would have built a wall. But he didn't. And remember the Moors? Any of you ever heard of Moors? Yeah, right? Northern Africans that conquered Europe. At that point, Europe was a 99% illiteracy rate. They didn't take showers, they didn't bathe, they didn't know anything about religion, they didn't know anything. But the Moors brought them technology. Street lamps, AD 792. Sewer system, AD 792. All these things, but wait a minute, I thought, no, that was all back then. It's also hidden history that is convenient to hide when you want to. We edit our memories, we edit our history. And so we say, well, Thomas Edison discovered, actually, no, that was 1,000 years before Thomas Edison, there was electricity. But that's edited history. There were sewer systems, same thing, thousands of years later, we still can't figure out how the pyramids were built. Hidden history. And so Thomas Edison, the light bulb, right? But who made it sustainable? Lewis Latimer, his black assistant. Otherwise, we'd be changing light bulbs every 5 minutes. They'll go out, they'll go out. But the fact of the matter is, black history is wonderful, and we did great things, but Harriet Tubman's Underground Railroad wouldn't have been successful if it wasn't for white folks that let the slaves stay at their home. So it was achievable, but it wasn't sustainable. So she was going fast, but she couldn't get very far. The Moors were going wonderful for almost 700 years. They ruled Europe, then got kicked out because of poor leaderships. Then Christians came in who had better leadership. So at the end of the day it's kind of like a leapfrog effect. One culture takes, they fail, another takes over. But here we are, 4% of the world's population. We're the sickest, we're the fattest, we drink the most coffee because we need it. We're on the most antihistamines, we are the most drugged up because we're suffering, we're dying slowly, but we look so good dying, don't we? We look really good. We got the whitest teeth, nicest hair, best skin, except for those in the Polynesian Isles, but we do pretty good for ourselves. But what happens though, why are 3 out of 5 commercials pharmaceutical ads? Because one thing we've capitalized on in knowing that there's more money in treatment than cure. But we're the greatest nation on earth. Right? We are the greatest nation on earth. We have a pretty formidable army, but how did that work for Mussolini? Pretty formidable army, how did that work for Hitler? So if we're just 4% of the world's population, wouldn't it make sense that we reach across the pond and connect? Wait a minute, we can't even reach across the aisle and shake hands. We can't even say hello to folks at the supermarket because we've been taught by the rewritten, editorialized history that if you don't look like me, sound like me, you can't get with me. As I say in closing, the only way to keep from repeating history where we're one of those empires that implode is to simply learn to do it together. That's how every empire, every society in the world has failed. They started believing their own press because our teeth were whitest, our skin was best, and we drove fancy cars. I've been to parts of Africa, they don't drive fancy cars. But a guy walking around with flip-flops, stains on his shirt, was a billionaire because he doesn't read Forbes, nor does he care about Forbes. But he can buy everybody on Forbes and have change left over to buy a couple of Learjets. So, is he about going fast? But he's built more schools and more hospitals in his community than most of our billionaires in this country. So I say to you, my brother, who looks like you, my sister, who looks like you, in God's eyes, is it about being right or is it about being righteous? What do we say about ourselves, but what report card does God give us? So you distinguished gentlemen and ladies here, I thank you for what you're doing because you're serving. And you're serving our best interests while we're sleeping, while we're at the supermarket, while our kids are being ushered across the street with wonderful men like this right here, making sure that our kids get through the crosswalk safely, because I see them every morning. And for our distinguished, those who served in the military, while we sleep at night, you're walking the wall. That's why we can fly flags on the back of our pickup trucks and our SUVs. But the end of the day is, do we really believe what we're telling the world? And what is the world saying about us? And if you're espoused to be a believer, what is Christ saying about you? So I simply ask this as you come to these meetings. Remember, you're not just serving your passion. Prayerfully, you're also serving your purpose. It's not about you, but when you walk out of here, did you make an impact? Did you change somebody? Or did you just spew off about your passions and you still missed your purpose? We need each other. Let's rewrite history and be that civilization that actually lasted because we wanted sustainability. Not just going fast, but going far, deep inside. I applaud you all. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. Wow. Okay, this afternoon we have two proclamations. The first one is a proclamation for Miss Teen Florida. I invite Noel Shanaki to the front to accept the proclamation. Please.
Go ahead. Whereas Noelle Shanaki is a Clermont resident and lifelong Central Florida native who currently serves as Miss Florida's Teen for the Miss America organization representing the city of Clermont at the state and national levels. And whereas Miss Shanaki is the founder and president of Hope for Heart Kids, a 501c3 nonprofit organization supporting children and families affected by congenital heart defects through educational outreach and hospital book distributions, reaching 18 states and 3 countries, including Central Florida. Whereas Ms. Shanaki has been honored for her leadership and advocacy at both the local and national levels, including recognition as a Lake and Style 40 Under 40 honoree and a Top 7 Community Service Achievement finalist at Miss America's Teen. And whereas Ms. Shanaki serves as an American Heart Association Youth Ambassador, promoting cardiovascular health education, CPR awareness, and heart-healthy lifestyles through schools, community events, and public outreach. And whereas Ms. Shanaki's service and leadership exemplify the City of Clermont's commitment to youth leadership, civic engagement, and public health, and highlight the positive impact of Clermont residents beyond the community.
Now, therefore, I, Tim Murray, Mayor of the City of Clermont in the state of Florida, do hereby recognize and commend her for her outstanding service, leadership, and dedication to improving the lives of others. Noel Shanaki. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the City of Clermont to be affixed this 24th day of February in the year 2026. Thank you.
hope everyone can hear me. Well, hi everyone. I didn't really have a speech prepared, but I'm so grateful to be here and be in a room with so many incredible people that truly are affecting our community in such a positive way. I love everything that the pastor just said coming up here. I'm so big into my faith, and hearing people talk on unity when the enemy really does try to come and bring division just was like really just reaching out to my heart when I sat there. And I don't even know who you are, but I can tell you know who the Lord is. So that was so encouraging to me. And even just to share a little bit about my story is I founded my 501c3 Hope for Heart Kids because my cousin Tyler was born with hypoplastic left heart, which basically means he was born with half a heart. And at the age of 15, he was having a heart transplant and ended up losing his life to it. So we founded the 501c3 to continue on his legacy, but it's way more than just affecting the heart community. It's a ministry. It's being able to walk into the hospitals and not just give them words of encouragement, but give them something that actually is eternal. Like it says in Scripture, the power in life and death is in the tongue. So when we're able to go in there, bring words of encouragement from the Word of God, it impacts them in an eternal way. That they leave, as you had said, changed forever. That it's not just something where you're speaking words, but that actually holds the power of life and death. So when we speak to them, you will be healed. We've seen so many stories where the families have just been radically changed because of the way that the Lord has impacted them. So even being able to come up here as Miss Florida's Teen, it's way more than a crown, but it really is a mission field that we're able to utilize and see real life impact. So I'm so grateful to be here today to accept the proclamation and just to stand in this room of incredible people. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don't want to forget this.
Well, we thank you. Oh. The next proclamation is for Arbor Day.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day was observed in Florida on January 17th, 2026, due to the winter dormancy of trees and the ease in planting and transplanting. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas the City of Clermont wishes to acknowledge its commitment to the preservation of nature and its long-established history as a Tree City, USA, by recognizing the celebration of Arbor Day.
Now, therefore, I, Tim Murray, Mayor of the City of Clermont in the state of Florida, do hereby proclaim the 17th day of January, 2026 as Florida Arbor Day. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the City of Clermont to be affixed this 24th day of February in the year 2026. Thank you, ma'am. And that's in-house, so we don't have to present that one. Next, we have the quarterly budget report from our finance director. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. 20 minutes of charismatic speaking and wonderful presentations, and now we talk about a budget report. I will go through the report fairly quickly, but of course, as usual, we'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. In your packet, you have a hard copy of the PDF version of the report. I'll be navigating this report through the city's website, which the general public will be able to find from any of the finance department pages on our website. This first quarter report reflects, of course, activity from October 25 through December 25, and we've made some changes to the format of this report, which I'll touch on as I go through it over the next few minutes. But first off, just a reminder, the report is now presented into 3 sections. The first one is a citywide presentation by fund type. Second section is a general fund presentation with revenues grouped by revenue types and then expenditures by department. And we now, as I'll speak to in more detail when we get there, we've added a third section which will display fund balances and running totals of the fund balances from quarter to quarter.
Mr. Borer.
Yes.
The information in my supplemental packet says it's through November, but you said this is the quarterly. Can you reconcile
That is the system-generated budget report that I typically provide in the supplemental packets. My apologies. The PDF of this same report should have been in your, is attached to the agenda item in your agenda packet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, first data table within the report. This is a citywide presentation of revenues and expenditures by fund type, as I said. And there's one of the differences we've made, changes we've made in this report is on display here with this first table. We now are showing 3 years of historical data within these data tables. So you'll see up at the top, fiscal year 23, 24, and 25, followed by the current year, fiscal year 26. In addition, we've also changed the data within those 3 historical years to show what the totals were at this same point in time in those years in order to provide you a comparison from year to year. So for instance, at the end of the first quarter in fiscal year 25, we had received $29.8 million in revenue in the general fund. This year, we're at 28.6 at the same point in time. So on and so forth. Going down to the next data table, this is specific to revenues citywide, still with the same fund presentation. As you can see in the lower right-hand corner, year to date, we're at 18% of, excuse me, I'm on the wrong one. Year to date, we've received 32% of revenue citywide, all funds. And this, of course, is led by the general fund, where year to date, we're at the 49% mark. So in the first quarter, as most people know, we received the majority of our ad valorem distributions. So through the month of December, we've already received 22 of our $28 million in distributions from Lake County, which is typical in most years. Scrolling down the enterprise fund, you'll see we're at 25%, right on target at the one-year quarter, at the quarter point of the year. That is led by our impact fees, which are outpacing our budgeted numbers at this point in the year. We are lagging behind slightly with user fees, somewhat typical of the first quarter, but as water consumption increases throughout the year, we're confident that we'll make up that variance as we continue throughout the year. Year to date, 32% across all funds. Now scrolling down to expenditures, same presentation, citywide by fund type. Lower right-hand corner, as you can see, we have so far spent 18% of our budget. 19% in the general fund, 18% in the enterprise funds, both of them very good metrics at this point. The outlier there you see is in the debt service fund. This is tied to some accounting that is lagging in relation to our $58 million wastewater treatment plant project, and I anticipate bringing some information related to that to council at an upcoming meeting. Now I'm going to scroll down to the next section, which is specific to the general fund. Our first data table here is showing, much like on the citywide presentation, we're showing revenues and expenditures across all revenue account types, and then down below by department groupings. And as you see on here at the end of the first quarter, our keep getting ahead of myself. General fund, we've received general fund revenue is $28.6 million, as I mentioned earlier, but only spent $12.5 million at this point in the fiscal year. I go down to the next table, which is specific to the general funds. Here we can see our percentages. As mentioned, at the very top, 65% of all of our taxes driven by that ad valorem distribution schedule. And then down at the bottom, the fund as a whole, 49%. We've already received half of our revenues for the year. Again, pretty typical from year to year. The permits, fees, and special assessments category is lagging slightly behind. That is, let me speak to the intergovernmental revenue section first. That is due to a state grant, $1.2 million budgeted, specific to the state's contribution to our pension funds. We receive that once a year, typically in July or August, so Q4. So that number lags behind throughout the entire year. And up above on the permits category, that is simply related to a delayed in receipt on a franchise fee of payment that we received just outside the end of the quarter. So revenue marks look good at this point within the general fund. Then the last table, specific to revenues and expenses, general fund expenditures grouped by department. As you see in the lower right-hand corner, we're at 19% for the fund at this point in the fiscal year. Very good sign. And you follow all the departments on the far right-hand side, you can see all of them are below the 25% mark at this point of the year. Led, of course, by public safety, which is our largest grouping. They have so far spent 8.6 of their $41.4 million, or 21%. So general fund expenditures looks extremely good at this point in time. Then the last table, our newest addition to the report. As I mentioned at the outset, the running balances of our unrestricted fund balances for all funds across the city. So let me walk you through this and speak to some of the nuances that exist in this first quarter. So you see a listing of all the funds on the left-hand side, general fund all the way down to our CRA fund. And then the first column of data is what was our beginning fund balance number within our budget that we adopted back in the fall. As it says in parentheses there, that is an unaudited number. The good news is we are very close to concluding the fiscal year 25 audit. When I stand before you presenting you this report at the end of Q2, we will have those audited numbers, and we'll be able to revise these numbers at that point in time, which is perfect timing as we get into the budgeting season. Your next three columns are revenue and expense year-to-date numbers for each of those funds, along with a calculated net change, and then a current fund balance column based off of that performance. Obviously, right now, this is showing $42.4 million in unrestricted fund balance in the general fund. We know we're not going to end up there as we continue to go through the year, and because we get all that ad valorem early in the year, the rest of the year, our expenses will outpace the receipt of our revenues. So the last column is more indicative of where we believe we will stand, and that again is directly from the budget. At that point in time, the number was $20.3 million, is where we expected to be at the end of the fiscal year. The good news, I'll give you a little preview of the audit. This was actually in the Q4 report, but that beginning fund balance number is going to increase. And once we get that audited number, as I said, we will reflect that in the next quarterly report. So that is my prepared remarks. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
I'm just curious. General fund, back on the first slide, you said last year we was at 29 million or so, and now we're at 28 million. It's down from last year. What do we contribute that to? Is that because we lowered our millage rate, and so we expecting to see less, or what?
It could have been simply a receipt of a grant early in the year or some additional charges for services. While our millage rate did decrease for this fiscal year, the amount of ad valorem we would receive actually increased. So it's likely just the timing of a few specific revenue sources.
And I know you probably won't know this, but at this time last year, what was the percentage we was at? I think you told me you were sitting at 49% of collection on general fund right now.
It was likely very similar because of the distribution schedule of ad valorem. We typically at this point have, a very high percentage of that distributed by this point in time.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out if people is paying a property taxes on a regular basis, or are they holding off because of the factor of economy and everything? Because I know some people they tell them they haven't paid theirs yet. They still waiting on them, so funds to do it. So
in the back of our audit every year, we have a statistical section that is compiled by city staff. Mm-hmm. And included in that stat section is a table that displays our collection percentage of ad valorem taxes. We're routinely year to year in the 94 to 96% collection percentage. So we're fortunate to have such a high collection rate.
Okay, that's at the end of the year. We're still in 90. We never
Right.
do 100%.
Right.
Okay. Good. Well, I just caught my eye that we begin the year with 26 million plus, but then you are projecting that at the end of the year, at the end of 26, fiscal year 26, we're going to be at 20 million in fund.
Yeah, those were numbers pulled from the audit, or excuse me, from the budget last year, which were by and large prepared during the summer. Our ending, I've not yet seen a draft of the audit. I should within the next couple of days. But my belief and understanding is our beginning fund balance number will be higher than that.
But higher than the 20?
Excuse me?
Higher than the 20? 20 million that you?
Well, that's our projected ending number, but
Ending
because our beginning number would be higher, then yes, sir, that projected ending number would be higher as well.
Well, like I say, according to what I'm looking at here, you say we begin at 26, but your projected end going to be 20. So I'm like, wait, that's a $6 million difference. So that tells me we overspending somewhere. We spending a lot more than we taking in somewhere. Okay, so that just draws my attention for some concern. So
Yeah, the adopted budget did utilize reserves to balance the budget.
so we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Okay. So, all right. That was the question I had and the thing that caught my eye. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. No, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item is public comment, beginning with this. And now we will be allowing virtual comments. If anyone wishes to address the council in person, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. Once in-person comments are concluded, we will move on to virtual comments. If you are participating online on Microsoft Teams and wish to provide comments, please raise your hand and you will be called on to unmute your microphone when it is time for you to speak. If you are participating by phone, you will press *5 on your phone to raise your hand. When called upon, you will press *6 to unmute your microphone. For all virtual participants, if you wish to comment on other items on the agenda, please stay on Microsoft Teams or on your phone and raise your hand when the item comes up on the agenda. This portion of the meeting is only for items that are not on the agenda. Yes, sir.
My name is Rudy Bowen. I was born in Clermont in 1933, down on Lake Mineola. Been a resident here 92 years. Clermont is my hometown, and I'm proud of it. I've heard some rumors about the operation of our city. You're going to have rumors. But the one that I don't like the most is they're underpaying certain people of our establishment, making the city manager, God bless him, making $185,000 a year or more. They deserve it. The mayor is making less than $20,000 a year. I don't like that. He's worth more. He's my friend, and I think the city of Clermont needs to recognize that position. I graduated from high school in 1951, got drafted in the Korean War, got my butt shot off. I haven't heard anything since, but I'm a happy camper. I love Clermont. God bless it.
Mr. Rudy, I know you have, can you give me your address, please? Your address.
Address. Can we get your address? Can we get your address for your house?
I'm sorry.
Your home address.
They pay me enough to make it worthwhile, but I don't want to go through it again.
It's okay.
Thank you.
I know he's on 5th Street down here somewhere, or down the road, but he can't. Like I say, he got shut up in the war and can't hear.
Good afternoon, Council. Sammy Taylor, Powderhorn Place Drive, Clermont. This is a story that was broken a couple of weeks ago by Channel 2 News. When the remains of a man were found in Clermont, were identified as a 23-year-old man who went missing in 1988. The young man was identified as Ernest Joe Manzares. Officials describe a twisted story that began in 1988. Manzares was a Navajo man who left his family home and never returned. He had moved from Colorado to Ocoee to be with his family due to domestic violence. Detectives stated that his father and his uncle were both involved in a motorcycle gang associated with prostitution, drugs, and criminal activity. Manzares was not involved with the gang. The night he left, he went to confront his father and uncle after finding out that they planned to sell his sister and his niece, ages 7 and 8, to a motorcycle gang. He told his mother that he would be back. He left in his 1976 red Chevy Monte Carlo. He didn't have a wallet and he didn't have a jacket. That was the last time Ernest Joe Manzares was ever seen. In 2009, the remains of a human were discovered while clearing land for a new park in Clermont. A spent shell casing was found nearby. Despite the fact that the crime scene was disturbed, teeth, bone fragments, and some clothing were found. The case went cold. Those remains were in a shoebox until recently. In 2025, officials were contacted by the medical examiner's office. Thanks to grant funding and new technology, the bones were analyzed using DNA genealogy through Othram, a laboratory combining science, software, and process to build a robust infrastructure for justice. Manzanares' uncle and father are deceased. But the dead man was still able to speak his name. Officials say that this is Ocoee's oldest missing person case. Manzares, who is the oldest child, was the protector of his family. He deserves to be recognized, and his murderer needs to be found. The one thing that I'd like you all to realize from this story is that in this community, there's still a murderer who walks around, and if he's not alive, someone knows something. I ask everyone in this community to please bring forth any information you may have regarding this case, whether it's knowledge, a suspicion, or a creepy feeling. Please help get justice for this family. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Charlene Harrison, 4th, DeSoto Street, Clermont. Mayor, give me a minute. I want the truth to be known about him. His name is Ernie, and yesterday I spoke to his wife, his widow, and his daughter. His wife has remained married to him all these years, and I want the truth to be told here tonight because I want somebody to be recognized that you don't normally see here in this hall. Linda Charlton is behind me, and she's going to come up here. She was the reporter for the Daily Commercial that we took down this PD. Corrupt, dirty, racist. And after that, mine and Linda's story didn't stop in our journey because people have called us up until just even this for all these years. And that's why I said I get mad at y'all's whining up here because you get 2 nights out of a whole month for some of you that have whined, not all of you. And we've spent 25 years. It didn't stop at our house. And Linda gets the credit because I want to tell you what really happened in this horrible, dirty city. Our workers were out there when we bought the property at Lake Hiawatha. They were clearing it. They found him and his remains, and they were told, you didn't see anything. We don't want to hold this up. And Linda and I, who was out there on the radar, got the call. I met a man in downtown Groveland in the public, and he said, also another worker took his teeth home. Well, I knew the teeth can solve a lot of things. Little did we know how long this was going to take. But I want you to see this guy's face, because when I come in here, this is the stuff that I have fought for so long. Linda and I have loved him and his bones all these years, and we never gave up. Now, I know our police is sitting in the back. I've already talked to Ocoee. I believe we know who probably killed him, and they're dead, and it's never going to be solved anyway, probably. But the point is, he was a human being that deserved to go back to his loved ones. That was a surreal story and a phone call yesterday, but I asked them, did they want to know the truth? And they wanted to know the truth. It's hard to believe that your loved one didn't matter for a stupid damn park down here. I've never gone to Lake Hiawatha, and I don't plan to. I saw it. We had to call the sheriff. Crime scene went up. People in our PD back then they've messed up the whole scene. But I want everybody to know, she's standing behind me. They called us Thelma and Louise. We are like yin and yang and night and day. But Linda was the reporter that drove that train all through the PD up to this. She never gave up. And we knew that one day, maybe, and the daughter came forward years ago. She's young. She never met her daddy. She was a baby. And I'll finish. And gave her DNA, and now that Ortham, that they call, has solved this. It wasn't good policing. I talked to the chief. I've talked to them. I talked to Okoye. There was nothing to solve. They didn't know who he was. But Linda and I were told shortly after that, he's Native American. He also had a tie to Texas that I found yesterday is true. He is a Christian. It had to do with drugs and a motorcycle gang. How could we know? They hadn't even identified him. So I want y'all to know, here's the lady behind me that I give her all the credit that you don't get to see, that tried to clean up this nasty, dirty town that the good old boys were running. And I'm going to tell you, the good old boys are tied into this guy. And they're right here in this town. Linda. Okay.
Linda Charlton, 9101 County Road 561, Clermont. I do not live in the city. Back in 2009, Charlene and I were calling the remains of this person. He was Mr. Bones. When I came before the council in 2009 asking for an update on Mr. Bones, it was because the police chief at the time seemed to be doing his darndest to make sure that this story became a hidden history, that no one would ever know anything. And it took a while. I was hoping that the police chief would be here because there's questions I have that maybe are best to the police chief, but he's not here, so you're going to get him anyway. When Mr. Manzanares went missing, his car also went missing, the lovely 1976 Chevy Monte Carlo. 8 or 10 years ago, however long it was, when Victory Point was being constructed, the first stage of the construction was that the area that used to be West Lake was cleaned out. Now, I happen to be covering a story relating to that, so I got a lot of eyefuls as to what was being cleaned out. One of the items being cleaned out that I saw was the chassis of a car that in configuration and size kind of sort of looks like a match to that 1976 Chevy Monte Carlo. So what I would like is the report that identifies that car. If you don't have it off the top of your head, that means you're a normal person, but you should know who has it and how can I get it. In connection with that, if it turns out, hey, this is the car belonging to the missing man whose body was found 2 miles later, then the next step would be, does the car still exist? The possibility of there being evidence in that car pertaining to his apparent murder are slim and none, but if it still exists, give it a shot. So we have that. So I want to know who the point person would be for my inquiries. If it is the police chief, then someone should hopefully let him know, hey, you need to talk to this person. She knows stuff. I know that the car was identified at least in terms of make, model, and year because the person who owned the property on which it was being stored told me what it was, because someone had told him. I don't know if it was a police officer or someone in the excavation people. That I don't know. All I remember is that it's an American car, and I think it dated from the 1970s, which would be, that doesn't mean it's Mr. Manzanares' beloved Monte Carlo, but it sure raises questions. And speaking of questions, any questions for me? Because I could give you one other.
Do you have a contact, like email address that you'd be willing to share with me on the side?
Oh, sure.
Okay, thanks.
So I would go over there and...
I'll do it.
Okay. I have another question, but that one's even harder, so that maybe that'll wait. Okay.
He's our city attorney.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Linda, you go this way.
This way? Okay.
Mr. Van Wagner, I guess you need to coordinate with the city attorney and the police chief on that, please, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Council. Joe Famasi, 2693, Jumping Jack Way. I'm here to speak to you today and requesting an investigation into the actions on May 27th, 2025, during a city meeting by the mayor. I feel that this reaches the heights of possible violation of the city charter. I'm requesting that the council have a fact-finding, independent investigation in this situation, because I feel that this egregious behavior has continued to present. I think that this government is a broken system and that the rules are not being followed. And I'm calling for a transparent, fact-finding investigation to put this government back on track. I think it's fair to ask this for the citizens of Clermont for transparency purposes. Ms. Myers, I'm sorry. I failed as a man. A couple nights ago, we talked about changing the times back. Some very rude things were said to you. And if the person that said it should realize that every time when they talk about how we interact at this meeting, they read the rules, they say no personal attacks. I'm a son and a father. I have 2 daughters. When I get afraid, this is what they bought me. And I should have had your back. Same thing for you, Ms. Strange. Some very rude things were said to you, and I didn't have your back, and I apologize. I'd like to give the city attorney this request, and I hope you will consider it for a future meeting, because I think that this situation is getting out of control, and there needs to be defined powers for the transparency of this government and being able to function. What happened divides this government inside the house. What did a famous person say? A house divided cannot stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hold on. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Sharon Key, 644 West Osceola. It's Black History Month. This month, communities across our nation pause to honor Black History Month, a time to reflect, remember, and recognize the stories that built this country. And while some cities nearby may celebrate more visibly, the truth remains that the same everywhere, Black history does not belong in one city, 1 month, or one group of people. Black history is American history. When we fail to recognize Black history, we don't erase it. We only diminish our understanding of America itself. And the reason I'm kind of emotional is because of everything that's going on in our world today. And some things happened to me in the last couple of weeks that I thought would never happen in our city. So I just want you to know that Black history is American history, and that we have contributed a lot here, and we are all one. We work together, we play together, and I just believe that when we don't put so much emphasis on division instead of more of unity and love, it's just really sad, and it breaks my heart to see it. But we have contributed a lot to this world and to this America. And when you have people say malicious things, you don't belong here, just some of the things they said, I guess because I moved back here in 2018, and you come back and you think that maybe things have changed a little. Because I was back there in the McCall time, and I remember him going down East DeSoto sometimes, and we kind of like scatter, you know. But you kind of think and you kind of hope that things would change or have changed. But now I think we have given people the opportunity to say what you want to say, anytime you want to say it. And in a way, I kind of say, well, let them say it, because that's truly their hearts, because that's the real person. So when someone tells me, go back to where you belong, I was born and raised here in Clermont, Florida. And some of the nasty things people say and do. But I do want you to know that, I'm going to finish reading this. When we fail to recognize Black history, because we have contributed a lot, we don't erase it. We only diminish our understanding of America itself. Because you cannot tell the full story of this country without telling the truth about the people who helped build it, defend it, and redefine it. So whether celebrated loudly, quietly, or not at all, Black history still lives in our schools, in our neighborhoods, in our culture, in our shared future. Let us remember, honoring Black history is not about division. It is about truth. It is about unity. It is about ensuring that every story that shaped this nation is seen, valued, and remembered. Because we honor Black history, we honor America. For Black history is American history.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Kurt Shue, and I have a restricted address under Florida state law. But I am a resident of Clermont. Greetings, City Council, Mayor, City Council members, Attorney. Don't want to leave anybody out. Bill, Dan, sorry, Rick. Last City Council, I spoke about standards. I had everything, an oath of the office we took in the military. I thank you for your time. I enlisted in 1980, almost 46 years ago. In the first week of basic training, they hammer into you military standards and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which falls under the constitutional laws. They really beat it into you. Through my career, since I retired here in 2013, a lot of people ask me a lot of questions. People I served with in combat and peace. I had the opportunity to go to Congress, Tallahassee, many, many times. And a couple of the questions I received is like this. What's it like to go to war? Have you killed anyone? How many? Why are veterans so angry? I'm going to answer that one from my perspective. Veterans are often angry because we see, we pay, we feel the cost of American freedom. When our friends, brothers and sisters die, their bodies scarred, broken, injured, they carry the cost of freedom in their body. They carry it for the rest of their life. When I was in Iraq in 2005, I saw a guy blown into pieces. He lived, burned over 90% of his body. I was on the IED task force in Iraq, part of a joint task force. One of the other popular ones, what's post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress disorder? This one I've asked actually in public presentations, and it's been debated all the way up to the President of the United States, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs when I retired in 2013. And I explain it like this. It's the stressing cause with the internal and moral conflict of war, of combat. You grew up for the first 20 years of your life and you learn this ethical code, moral code, that killing is wrong. You don't kill. And then, after a little bit of basic training from combat skills, they send you into unimaginable chaos. War, bombs going off, people shooting, smoke, the fog of war. And you have less than a second to decide whether you're going to die or you're going to take another human being's life. So I'll tell you about a story of Iraq. Give me another minute, please. His name was Terry. He's part of my joint task force in Iraq in 2005. And Terry, squad leader, sergeant first class, was in the middle of a combat in Mosul, Iraq, in an engagement. and he shot another man. And then this young boy, 10 or 11 years old, picked up his father's weapon, an AK-47, and started shooting his own platoon. And so in a fraction of a second, he decided to save his own soldiers or to drop that young boy. He's never recovered. He retired, he weighed 169 pounds. He now weighs over 350 pounds. He drinks heavily, he smokes. He cannot drink the pain away. That's what war is like. That's what combat is like. I did 7 combat tours over 33 years. War is not the same thing for everybody. I did direct combat, direct action with special operations. And post-traumatic stress is a normal reaction to an unnatural thing. I thank you for your service. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else? This is a public forum. Anyone wish to speak to anything that's not on the agenda may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, do we have anyone online? Okay. With nobody online, we're gonna close. We can go ahead and close public comment. Before I move on, Mr. Van Wagner, is there any changes to the agenda?
I just want to make you aware that item number 3, we had a bidder that wasn't able to hold the price. That's on item number 57. So we went with the next bid, and that was a change of $186.87. That is added to this bid.
So this one that's on here, the 240,000, excuse me, 647, it's just $186 more than the previous. Okay, that's the only change. I don't think we need to take any action on that, do we, Mr. Warren, right?
He's asking you.
I'm sorry?
We don't need to take any action on that, right?
No, I don't think so.
Right. All right, the next portion is this consent agenda, which contains items that have been determined to be routine and non-controversial. If anyone in the audience wishes to address a particular item on the consent agenda, now is the opportunity for you to do so. Additionally, if staff or members of the city council wish to speak on a consent item, they have the same opportunity. The consent items this evening is items 1 through 6. 1 through 6. Are there anyone wish anything to be pulled? Anyone wish anything to be pulled from the consent agenda? Seeing none, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept consent items 1 through 6.
A second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair vote aye as well. Motion passes 4-0. 5-0, I'm sorry. Unfinished business, item number 7. Ordinance number 2025-039, Final Ivy Ridge. Okay.
Mayor, I'll read both of those into the record, 7 and 8.
Okay, well, we're gonna look at item 7 and 8 at the same time, but we will, and item 8 is ordinance number 2025-040, but we will vote on them separately, okay?
Ordinance 2025-039, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clermont, Lake County, Florida, adopting the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment for the City of Clermont, Florida, pursuant to the Local Government Comprehensive Planning Act, Chapter 163, Part 2, Florida statutes, setting forth the authority for adoption of the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, setting forth the purpose and intent of the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, establishing the legal status of the comprehensive plan amendment, providing for conflict, severability, the administrative correction of scrivener's error, publication, and an effective date. Ordinance number 2025-040, an ordinance under the Code of Ordinances of the City of Clermont, Lake County, Florida, amending the official zoning map of the city of Clermont referred to in Chapter 122 of Ordinance Number 289C, Code of Ordinances, rezoning the real properties described herein as shown below, providing for conflict, severability, administrative correction of scrivener's error, recording, publication, and an effective date.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members, and guests. John Cruz, Development Services. The city, as the applicant, is requesting a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment of the subject property as a follow-up to the staff-initiated annexation request. The amendment would change the future land use from Lake County urban low to City of Clermont low-density residential. Outlined on the display is the property in question. It's known as Ivy Ridge. The property is located southeast of Lake Louisa Road, and a Hammock Ridge Road intersection is approximately 57 acres. The property was approved under PUD Ordinance 2020-03 in Lake County for up to 155 single-family dwelling units. The property is currently moving forward and construction activity is starting. The property was annexed by City Council on June 10, 2025, prior to building permit issuance to capture approximately $1.8 million worth of impact fees for the City of Clermont. Since the project is greater than 50 acres, a large-scale comprehensive plan review is required. The amendment 25-02 ESR was transmitted for comment to the State of Florida, Florida Commerce Department, and other state agencies for review in December of 2025. The city received 5 responses from the reviewing agencies, with no comments being provided other than no adverse impacts have been found. Since no substantial comments or objections were received, the city is proceeding forward with adoption of this request and recommends approval of Ordinance 2025-039. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 5-0. Staff recommends approval of the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, Ordinance 2025-039. Next, we're moving on to the rezoning portion. The city, as the applicant, is requesting a rezoning of the subject property as a follow-up to the staff-initiated annexation request. The zoning change would be from Lake County Plan Unit Development to City of Clermont Plan Unit Development. The property is located southeast of Lake Louisa Road and Hammock Ridge Road intersection, and again, it's approximately 57 acres. The property was approved under Lake County PUD ordinance for up to 155 single-family dwelling units. The PUD zoning does not propose a conflict to the existing uses and land uses in the area. The proposed use is compatible with adjoining properties as required by the comprehensive plan. The transfer of Lake County's PUD ordinance to the city's PUD ordinance is a like for like, with small adjustments made due to code references such as county to city. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 5-0 with an additional condition that the development builds the city's landscape code. Staff notes that this condition is already captured within the ordinance under Section 6 entitled Landscaping Requirements. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning to PUD with the conditions contained in Ordinance 2025-040. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and anyone in the public wish to address these items may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Anyone in the public wish to address either of these items may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Seeing no one in the chamber, we have anyone online?
Not this time.
Okay, no one online, so I close a public portion and bring it back to council. What say council?
I make a motion to accept ordinance number 2025-39.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion for approval of ordinance number 2025-039. Any further discussion? Hearing none, it's roll call. Councilmember Strange.
Nay.
Councilmember Bain.
Aye.
Councilmember Myers.
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
And the chair vote aye as well. Motion carries 4-1. All right. Ordinance number 2025-040. Entertain a motion. Unless there's some questions?
No.
Okay. Any comment?
Yes, I make a motion to accept item number 8, ordinance number 2025-040.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance number 2025-040. Any further discussion?
No.
None, all in, roll call. Councilmember Strange.
Nay.
Councilmember Bain.
Aye.
Councilmember Myers.
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
And the chair vote aye as well, and motion carries 4-1. Thank you, sir. Next up is new business. Item number 9 is for variance request.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members, and guests. Justine Day with Planning and Development Services. Introducing agenda item number 9 for 1222 5th Street. It's a variance request. The applicant and owner, Kenneth Ramsey, is requesting 2 variances to the Land Development Code to install a 288 square foot storage building on his property located at 1222 5th Street. The property is designated with the R1 Single Family Medium Density Residential Zoning District and is approximately 9,000 square feet. Currently, the property consists of an existing single-family residence and a detached garage that were built around 1925 as indicated on the Lake County Property Appraiser's website. The property owner would like to install a storage building in a similar location to the existing detached garage. The first variance request is to allow for a side yard setback to be less than the minimum 7.5 foot requirement. The second variance request is to allow for a rear yard setback to be less than the minimum 25 foot requirement. These requests would allow for the proposed storage building to encroach into the side yard setback at 5.5 feet from the south property line and encroach into the rear yard setback at 7.5 feet from the west property line. The applicant has indicated the proposed storage building would not be encroaching into the rear yard setback any further past the existing detached garage that sits at 7.5 feet from the rear property line. The existing garage, built in 1925, is a legal non-conforming structure since it does not meet the current rear yard setback of 25 feet. The applicant would like to keep the proposed storage building in line with the existing detached garage since it would give their family more outdoor space for backyard activities as well as storage. Upon review of the applicant's request, staff is unable to support the request for a reduction to both the side and rear setbacks. Land Development Code Section 125-520B states storage buildings over 150 square feet shall be subject to setbacks for all other structures. The variance request is not the minimum that would make reasonable use of the land due to the structure being able to be located elsewhere and meet the applicable land development codes. Section 101-246 of the Land Development Code requires a positive finding on the review criteria in order to grant a variance. Staff has reviewed the application as submitted and finds the application does not meet a positive finding on 1 out of the 5 criteria. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the variance request. Thus concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Yes, sir.
Afternoon, Mayor, Councilman. My name is Kenneth Ramsey. I live at 1222 5th Street.
Okay.
So, we moved into this house about 1.5 years ago. Very happy and proud that it's part of the Spanish Run. There are another dozen or so right around that area, so we learned more about that house as we moved in and then continued while we lived there. So, very proud to be part of that. It's very interesting. We also learned back in 1925, storage was a different perspective. So, but that being said, it's all good. But we always had discussed what would it mean to put something in the back corner there. I think it's the southwest corner by the detached garage. And it's perfect area for just a storage shed and place to do stuff, around it, projects and whatnot to further the house, which is why we're requesting to match the existing rear offset of 7.5 feet to the existing garage, and then move the closer to the line about by a foot. Therefore, the building would be better centered between the existing garage and the fence line.
Okay, that's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. If we have any other questions, we will call you back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wish to address the item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Anyone in the public wish to address this item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Seeing no about one in chamber. Anyone online? Okay, thank you. Well, we're going to close public comment portion and bring it back to council. What say council?
The existing structure there is 101 years old. Is that 2025, or 1925 it was built?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So would you be building the secondary structure to be in compliance with that so it would have the same look? Or is it going to just be a box type of storage?
It's going to be built in place. We looked at several different options of trying to, I've designed it 2 different times now. It started off as a metal structure. That didn't work out for other reasons and whatnot, but it is going to be a wooden structure. It's not going to have the stuccoed look per se, but it is going to be a wooden structure, colored, matching accordingly, very similar. But I did go with a wooden structure just to sort of blend with the rest of other structures in the area. There's a shed just next door to us that's as far as similar distance to the fence line.
And you're going to be building it directly next to the existing structure? Or is there going to be a space between them?
There's going to be, because of the movement, the variance requested, it's going to have 36 inches, 32 inches between the existing garage. Is going to be the distance between the 2 structures.
So, and what's the reason why you can't be in compliance with setbacks?
Well, the setback from the rear setback is at 26 feet. And if you go that further up into the property, that's actually where my carport is. So that's a reason for the rear.
Related to Mr. Peterson's questions, I'm curious what the neighbor's shed is off of their property line. I don't know if you can speak to that, how many feet the neighbor's shed is, or if staff knows the answer to that.
I measured it. It is just under, or right over 6 feet. So not quite 6.5, but it's about 6 feet. That's the distance off the fence line.
And you're requesting 7.5 feet?
I'm requesting 5.5 feet off of the south line, 7.5 feet off the rear, which would match the garage. The existing garage.
So the neighbor's 6 and you're asking 5.5?
Correct.
Okay. And is the neighbor present or aware of what you're proposing?
Absolutely. I spoke with George and Mila Myers. George specifically, he was a vet, always outside hanging out, and we chatted quite frequently. Unfortunately, 6 months ago, he passed away. So although his wife Mila is certainly well aware of the project, and I even forwarded the information that you guys have currently to her, as well as her extended family, who did a lot of work around the house after he passed. So it's certainly a known project.
Attorney Wall, we don't have anything in our code relative to design standards at this point, do we?
Not, I think, addressing what you mean by design standards, yes.
In other words, that the architectural design of the unit to be consistent with the home or the adjacent properties?
Not formally stated in the code. I think that you are able, of course, to approve subject to conditions as you wish.
Dave, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't necessarily have any questions. I did talk to staff about this in our agenda review, and notification was done, as we do per our code for any type of project like this. I look at this as very similar to a project or an item that we had before us recently in the older part of the city that an individual was looking to, and I believe that one was on the line and not didn't even have a setback. And here we're matching. I don't know that I could get to yes if you were exceeding what the current garage was already in terms of the setbacks, but given that we're matching that footprint to this footprint, and it's been there. I'm not sure exactly when it was built, but at least sometime after 1925, thereabouts or after. It's been there for some time. And so I have no problem with that. And I think that, we might see as a city some conversation about looking to tie these types of projects to existing structures in terms of how they look and how they feel, but we don't currently have that. And I really have some reservations about cherry picking as to when we do that. So I'll support your request at this time.
Okay. You have anything?
If we don't have any other discussion, I'll make a motion to accept it. You got discussion?
You say it's 3 feet between the two buildings. It would be 3 feet. And that throw you, what, 5 feet, 5.5 feet closer to the property other side?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
Is there a reason why we have 3 feet between the two?
Well, I was trying to, where am I going to place it so it's still usable? You can get there through there with a lawnmower, right? I'm trying to think about how I'm going to get around and keep everything kept accordingly. So otherwise, if I was going to stick with what the current offset is in place, it would close the gap between the two existing structures. The front of the existing garage also has a decorative trim, so it's not necessarily the frame of the garage where the opening is. It actually comes out maybe another foot, so that's trying to take that into consideration.
Okay, because I mean, this side setback bothers me, and I was looking at it and saying if we can get it to keep it at that 7.5 feet side setback, I have no problem. This is one of the unique areas of our town. Okay, I always call it our Spanish village. Okay, because everything is set over there in the village, Spanish style, and everything. And I realized the need. With our other thing, I think Mr. Peterson touched on it for me was the architecture and the final design. Is it going to match similar to what's there already? But you said no, it's going to be wooden.
Correct. It's going to be a wooden structure. We are going to color accordingly. We want it to blend as well. It's all the way in the back corner of the lot, but we still want it to look nice and blend.
Well, I'm trying to support this, and I was just, Mr. Ward, you say we can put stipulation on, because I guess what I would like to see is maybe you go ahead and do this. I would like to support this, but if we can agree to trying to keep it in the Spanish style. When you do it, I can really support it, but I don't know how expensive, and that's why I was thinking maybe if you moved it right next to it, or even use one of the present walls and everything, can save you some money and keep it looking all one the same. And then we still have the 7.5 feet on the side. I don't have any problem with the back setback because the present one has the same backside setback, and that's back when the was built. We really didn't have too many codes in the city at the time, so and that's another reason why I'm kind of like leaning and saying, okay, overlook the 7.5 feet, because during the time there's a lot of them over there that's not meeting the 7.5 feet. So
your code section does say that when you deal with a variance, you can approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
Mm-hmm. So.
Well, and for clarity, what we're really talking about here is not approving a shed, it's approving that this property in perpetuity would have a 7.5 foot setback with a 5.5 foot sideline setback. Is that accurate, or do I misunderstand?
That's a good question. I think we'd have to look at the application to.
Well, we are approving a shed that exceeds our present day codes, okay? That wouldn't meet our present day codes. Of course, when all this was built over there, a lot of them, none of them homes, a lot of that stuff over there wouldn't meet our present day codes, because back in the day when they was built, it wasn't there.
I think it would be to allow the setbacks for this specific structure.
Right.
So when our comprehensive plan is done and the design team comes up with standards and criteria, if this gentleman wished to build a larger garage with an ADU on top, for example, let's say the design team says 6 feet, he would have to come back for a variance for the 5.5 feet, just as an example.
I think yes.
I'm going to move to approve item number 9.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for approval of, where are we, item number 9. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And chair vote aye as well. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 10 is consideration for, good luck, sir. I'm sorry. Consideration for resolution number 2026-006R.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Clermont, Florida, relating to the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan Program, making findings, authorizing the loan application, and execution of the loan agreement for project number 3514D, designating authorized representatives, providing assurances, providing for conflict, severability, administrative correction of scrivener's error, publication, and an effective date.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Scott Bohr, Finance Director, and I'm joined by Mark Griffin from Public Services. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FDEP, has included a series of City of Clermont drinking water capital projects as part of their 2026 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund priority list. This action makes the city eligible for a $15.6 million loan from the SRF program for utilization towards the presented projects that are included in your packet. The loan award includes a 50% debt forgiveness subsidization in the form of principal forgiveness. The resolution before you in Section 3 authorizes both the application and acceptance of the loan. FDEP will provide the specific terms of the loan to us approximately 6 weeks after the submission of the application. Staff will report those terms back to City Council at that point in time. Key dates of this program include the following. Application is due to FDEP by March 12th, 2026. Loan acceptance is due to FDEP by June 10th, 2026. Projects must be completed by December 2031, and repayment would begin the earlier of 6 months after the last project is completed or fiscal year 2029-30. That concludes staff reports. We'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. First, we're going to open it up to the public. Anyone in the public which wish to address the item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Anyone within the chamber want to address the item may come to the microphone and state your name and address and have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, Mr. Wayne, we have no one online, so we're going to close public comment and bring back to council. What say council?
I have questions for staff. Mr. Bohr, probably they're just for you. Which fund would we use to pay the balance of this loan?
Water fund.
And do we have sufficient funds in the water fund currently or projected over the next however many years that this loan would be in place to pay it, or would this result in a fee increase?
Well, let me revise partially my response to that. Some of these projects may very well also be eligible for use of water impact fee as well. So when I say water fund, I'm speaking to them as a whole. But in turn, your question was rooted in repayment. This would, of course, if authorized by council, be included in the rate study that is currently ongoing. That council authorized a couple of months ago, in which we're about halfway through that process as we speak. Whether or not this would impact rates would be determined by that study. As I said here, off the top of my head, I do know that we do have debt in the water fund coming off the books over the next 10 years. So that presumably would help stabilize that. But again, to specifically answer your question, that would require the conclusion of the rate study.
So according to the financials that you give us today, we currently have 10 million, almost 11 in the water fund and 5 million in the water impact fee fund. And we have debt service, obviously, but new construction and development coming in. Knowing what we know today, does this seem like a prudent activity on our part?
From my chair, it certainly does, and let me further explain why. My understanding, and I'm hesitant, I'm hedging my comments because we don't have the terms from FDEP yet. But my understanding is there's two different tracks that the city will be able to choose from as we are working through these projects and receiving the funds. One would be an upfront distribution of the entire 15.6, but with that would come interest. The preferred track, as I understand it, is that we pay for these projects as we go, and then we are reimbursed for them, and that would come with a 0% interest rate associated with the loan. Therefore, making it even more prudent, to answer your question, to move forward with this.
Okay. And then I have a question for the Public Works staff relative to, we had some conversation at the priorities meeting about, and you hopefully, I don't know if you're the right one to speak to, you're the one this time? Okay. That we're looking to put a water treatment facility in the Wellness Way area.
Correct.
Over the next 5 years, more or less.
Yes.
And my recollection is that we anticipate that's going to be about a $30 million project. Does that sound right?
Correct.
And we also have a project at Verde Ridge that we're looking at.
Correct.
And that's 5 or 6 million.
That's correct.
So if we have 15 million in the bank and we're looking to take out a 15 million loan with a 50% forgiveness, or at least it seems like this is consistent with our plans. This is.
It is, and these, some of the projects that are listed under this grant funding are ones that are already in the city's budget and in the 5-year plan currently.
Okay, great.
So essentially we're doing $15 million worth of projects for just over $7 million.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, I think with commend staff, whomever sought this out, to get the opportunity to complete projects that we have in the plan and to get state assistance. I think it's something that's been an initiative that this council and past councils have asked the city staff to do, and you're doing it. So between this and another item we approved earlier on the consent agenda, we're getting well over half more in work than what we're paying out of city funds to do, and it's improving infrastructure and expanding access. So I think that those are all things that we need, particularly as it relates to our water and the safety of that water. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I second what Councilmember Bain said. I'm going to move to approve item number 10.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of item number 10, resolution number 2026-006. And it is resolution, right? Yes. Because I'm looking at a screen saying ordinance, so.
Oh.
So I want to verify. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All opposed? And chair vote aye as well. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 11, ordinance number 2026-012, introduction.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clermont, Lake County, Florida, closing and permanently abandoning a portion of Short Street right-of-way, Johnson's replat, according to the plat thereof, recorded in Plat Book 8, page 71, Public Records of Lake County, Florida, and more particularly described as below. This ordinance will repeal and replace ordinance number 2025-016 due to revised legal description, providing for conflict, severability, administrative correction of scrivener's error, recording, publication, and effective date.
Thank you. Yes. Entertain motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 2026-012 intro.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance number 2026-012 intro, to vacate right-of-way amendment. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair vote aye as well. Motion carries 5-0. Reports, Mr. Van Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some important dates. Our March workshop is going to be on March 17th at 3 p.m. I want to make you aware of some events. The Great Clermont Campout is February 28th through March 1st at Waterfront Park. And we have the Clermont Multi-Hall Regatta, that's March 6th through March 8th. And the Great Clermont Triathlon is March 8th at Waterfront Park. That concludes my report.
Mr. Van Wagner, can I ask you to go ahead and let's try to get some more advertisement out on the Jazz Festival?
Yes,
That's
sir.
coming in April.
Yes.
It's in April, but it's our first time doing this, and I know we got a lot invested in this. So I would like to see some pretty good participation. And I know I've been around the city and kind of saying things to people, and a lot of them isn't aware of it right now.
What's the date on that again?
The 18th and 19th of April. So, and from what I understand, some people come back with feedback from it. We got some great entertainment coming, some great artists that'll be here, so please, we just need to step up. I would
Sure.
like to see the step up on the advertisement. Okay. Mr. Waugh, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Last meeting, I told you that we are still negotiating the Duke Energy Ordinance. I think we're now at the place where it'll hopefully end up on your agendas in April for your consideration. We are still working out and have made very clear things like lighting on Hook Street and Excalibur need to be handled as expediently as possible. They keep promising. We got another promise yesterday. They've confirmed that they are willing to do what Public Services has requested, which is in exchange for us working with them on doing work on rights-of-ways without having to go through an extensive permit process with us. They would be willing to provide trucks to hold up their infrastructure free of charge to us when we're doing work on our right-of-ways. So sometimes when they're digging, it creates a lateral support issue. They've always charged the city for that. They're willing to do that. In any event, I think it will be ready for your review, and we'll send that soon.
Okay, what about Highland Avenue?
That was another request that was made and discussed yesterday. They've, I think, said that they've tried to put a work order in 3 times. I said it's not good enough. And I mean, to be blunt, I told them that these are preconditions to the city. Now, it's actually up to you, not up to me, but I want to play a little hardball with them to get it done.
Well, Chief Graysick isn't here because he was with me when we did the survey of all that. I know that survey included more than Highland Avenue, but in light of what happened last week over there on the corner of Highland and Blocks, I mean, I come through there in the darkness and everything, I think it need to be really, really addressed because the darkness really caught me even more so the other night with the incident we had over there.
I've emphasized that.
So okay, but if we can get at least Highland, I mean, we need to really step it up on Highland because it is truly, truly dark over in that area, in that corner along there. So, and it's, like I say, I think it's something we're still paying for.
Yeah, I mean, if they want a 10-year extension on a monopoly here, they ought to be willing to do that as a bare minimum.
Yeah, because, we pay for these street lights, we paying for these street lights, and they telling me on their website that we have street lights in these areas and none of them exist, and so.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, sir. Yes, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, yes, let me look at what we got here. Mr. Peterson.
Oh, that's going in reverse order, okay. One of the things you had mentioned before about advertisement, and I think I know in past sessions, we were talking about public information strategies, we were talking about hiring people and things like that, but I think Melinda's doing a phenomenal job, but I really think, she needs additional personnel in there, and I think we should look into possibly getting other people in there to expand our public information office as we're growing bigger and bigger, especially as we're having more and more events. I mean, as a senior, we're looking at reading material, but I'm the minority here now, and most of the people are into Instagram, into Facebook, into other forms of getting the message across. And I think we should look into expanding that, especially as our city's growing. Secondly, I was really touched about PTSD. I mean, I think everyone here gets emotional when they think about what the veterans have to go through in these type of situations. And I don't think there's any words I can really say that can touch your hearts, but I know, like, it touched my heart when you mentioned that before, and I just want you to know that. Secondly, I was at the DPZ meeting last night, the culmination, and I thought it was amazing the amount of work that was done and the level of work that was done in the drawings and things like that. And I think it's something, I know it's in its infancy still, and we're not, we haven't made any final decisions, but I think it was great the amount of talent that we were able to get as a city to, use their level of expertise. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Strange.
Yes, one of the items that we voted on tonight was engineering, both concept and engineering on Bloxham Avenue. I'm asking for council's support to direct staff to ensure that whatever the concept is and the final engineering, to be directing staff that design be consistent with the beautiful work that we saw yesterday that was done by DPZ. I think a lot of the drawings, if you haven't seen them, with people being able to bike and move about and use golf carts safely, and I fear that if we're not intentional about directing our professionals to have that standard, that we will be going through this process of comprehensive planning and design as a ministerial task rather than as an intentional task. So I was hoping that I could get council support to direct Mr. Van Wagner and the team at Public Works to communicate to that contractor that we don't want business as usual on that street design, that we want it to be consistent with the walkable, bikeable concepts that we've been seeing coming out of the DPZ team. I see a yes from Ms. Myers and Mr. Peterson. Yeah.
Are we engaging in a conversation here about this? Because I guess I'm curious why we didn't just make that as a motion when we voted on it.
Well, the item was to hire a firm. The question is the standards. So
yeah, but I think the standards would be a part of that conversation. I'm comfortable with asking staff to be cognizant of walkability, multimodal, but I'm hesitant to say they have to follow a concept that isn't even an actual concept presented to the council for approval. I do have a concern about that. So in theory, if we want to say present something that's walkable, that's multimodal, that it's consistent with use of golf carts or bikes and other forms of transportation that promotes healthy lifestyle, walkability, those types of things,
yep.
I'm okay with that. I just am hesitant to say follow DPZ when DPZ has a concept, but we've not implemented any of their concepts into our comprehensive plan yet.
Yeah, and for clarity, they didn't provide anything for that street, so there's nothing to follow from DPZ. It's when the concept plan is done. Well, perhaps we should be asking for when the concept plan is done before they go to engineering to have it come back to us for consideration. What do we think about that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well,
there we go.
Well, part of that street, one of the main portion of the street that's being looked at is outside the zone that DPZ is working on. It's in the southwest quadrant, to the south side of Highway 50, even though we do have a section there, a block some from Highland on, which is already walkability in multimodal, golf carts, everything go through there and people walk. We got sidewalks and everything there. I think the biggest thing we're looking to do is more or less stormwater improvements along there, because especially to the south side of 50 on Bloxham, because whenever it rains there, we have a serious problem with stormwater, and we have the sidewalks and everything running along there now, but we have to do something about widening this, if we can widen the street and capture the stormwater. And eventually it'll go all the way down to Hook Street, but I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, this portion is just going to Minnehaha, right? And everything. This portion of it is just going to Minnehaha, but we have a concern to go all the way down to Hook Street with it. And the biggest thing is we have to try to, because of the funding we're trying to use their grant, we have to try to watch our spending as well. So
Oh, sure. No, I support the project. I
Yeah.
think improvements on that road are great. I'm just asking if council supports,
Yeah.
staff holding our professionals to a standard of walkable, bikeable, human-friendly, multimodal. It sounds like we got that.
Well, if you look at the other portion of Blossom Avenue to the south of Highland, basically that was, they took all that in consideration along the way. That's why we have all the sidewalks, the new curb and the stormwater catch, because we used the same program to do all of that. Well, it was 3 times we used it along the Solo and well, so, but I think I don't have no problem with reiterating it to staff. Mr. Van Wagen reiterating with staff is to keep it in that perspective, but I definitely want to see it kind of like match what we did with the other side of Blossom and everything, so, which is pretty good. So, yes, sir. Anything else, ma'am?
Yes, I had several. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and I hate to jump in. I'm a little confused about what the direction is to city management. I think I saw a consensus, but that's why sometimes it is good to do things by motion. Would you mind giving the city manager direction by motion?
I wouldn't even know how to do it.
I think
Yeah.
what your ask was that the standards, it seemed like you agreed with Councilmember Bain about what he was saying, which is multimodal. We ask that the work that's produced pursuant to this approved item conform to the multimodal vision.
Correct.
Okay. Well, if you're happy with it and you feel like you have the direction, that's fine. But I just didn't want it to come back later.
Yeah, if there was a drawing or something, I would refer to that, but I don't.
Okay.
I don't have such a thing.
Right.
Yeah, well, like I say, it's already multimodal. It just needs some work. It's a bad area. Need to work and need to upgrade it and improve it. It's curving and all this over there and capture the storm water. I wish we can close off Armand Street through there altogether, but because it creates a real hassle over there. But I know that's not going to happen either. But anyway, I agree with it. All right.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we have items that went through planning and zoning, I had thought that in the past we had asked that the planning and zoning notes be included with the agenda packet. I might be misremembering, but tonight we had items on the agenda that were had gone through planning and zoning, and I did not see them in the packet. So I just wanted to remind staff that planning and zoning does a lot of work, and I think that what they provide is valuable, and when they give us reports, I'd like to have copies of those in the packet. Related to that, there was recently a training for planning and zoning, and in that conversation, there was communication to our planning and zoning team about how we're interacting with applicants. And while I support the overall messaging, one of the things I would have liked to have seen, and I'm curious, again, what my fellow council members think, is I would like to see if planning and zoning was willing to put together maybe a list of standards that they see. I think it would be helpful for the DPZ team as well to see what our planning and zoning team see as, what do they see as the standards? I know when someone comes in here, I'm looking at certain things like human-friendly, walkable, bikeable, but those aren't official standards for the city at this point. And yet, I think a lot of folks on planning and zoning are looking at that, and there's no reason why they couldn't put together a list, in my mind, to say these are the standards that we're going to review these things and then bring it up to council so we can send it back so that they know, we know, the applicant knows, these are the standards that we're looking at, which we could then share with DPZ as they're working on our comprehensive plan. Is that something, do we need a motion on that? Is that something we feel?
Well, I think one of the things they said, it was certain areas, when they did the blueprints, these are areas that we can do rezoning, these are the areas we cannot. So I don't know if you can come up with zoning rules that are blanket when you have can and cannot do. So we have to it has to be differentiated between different, I don't know, can you make zoning rules that are applicable for zone A but not zone B?
Oh, that's a great question.
Can that be done legally?
Is there the possibility of maybe like a joint workshop between council and planning and zoning where we could talk about those things?
Yeah, the answer is yes. And in fact, if that is the route that you wanted to go down, I'd recommend the joint workshop because ultimately you are going to be the deciders. But if you want their input, that's the way to do it.
What do we think about that? Do we want to do that?
Yes.
Cool. I wanted to follow up on a question from the last meeting. I think it was the last meeting about the disc golf. Hope everybody received it. I asked our tourism director for a report on what the projected economic impact of the national championship would be.
Right.
Did everybody get that? He sent it back. I believe it was $1 million estimated economic impact. Right. And in a follow-up communication I received from Mr. Ritchie, he did verify with the team, with the group at the disc golf, that all of the rooms would be, the only rooms they're promoting, let's say, are in Clermont, and in fact they're using a local RV park that coincidentally has a disc golf course in it, and so they use it to prepare. So I wanted to follow up on that as it came up at the last meeting. Also, one of the items as upcoming events, I guess I'll do a, this will be perceived however it's perceived, but the Spring Games does start this Friday. It will go for the month of March. If you like going to local restaurants, please be advised that about 25,000 people will be coming into town throughout the month, and restaurants are likely to be full with college softball players and their families. Most exciting for me is that the Division III national champion, Trine University, will be here playing their opening games on this Saturday, starting at 1:30 at Legends Way Ball Fields. For anybody who wishes to go, they're playing 2 top 100 teams, so they should be extraordinary games. So I think that that is good. And then one of the members of the public brought up a question about our rules and how we follow them in compliance with our charter. I need to be accountable to the council and the public. I made a records request that I perceived as a point of inquiry. Our attorney clarified with me that it was in fact direction to staff. I did not mean to do that. I thought that the record request was a request for inquiry, and so I want to be accountable to each of you for that. I now know if I have a request for any document to direct that specifically to Mr. Van Wagner, and I apologize to the staff member that I made that request to in the manner that I requested it. It caused me to ask for an opinion by our attorney of, what are the rules? I want to make sure I'm not violating those. And I think that the request from the public that any perceived, any alleged violation to be looked into, and I welcome it, and I support the public's request for an inquiry into the way that we communicate, so that we can make sure that we're communicating in compliance with our charter.
And let me just address that. I always appreciate the candor of you, Councilmember Strange, and others. What the charter prohibits is willful, violations. And so when people request information and documents, I don't consider that a willful violation of, the prohibitions that are in the charter or anything. It's just sometimes there's a line between give me this, or can you answer this, or can you give me this? So it's just something I try to call balls and strikes on, but there's no willful.
And I appreciate it. It wasn't intended to step over Mr. Van Wagner's toes, and I apologize, Mr. Van Wagner, if I did. It's helpful for me, and I think it's good for us to be on the safe side, to say, all of our communications really, unless Mr. Van Wagner says, yes, talk to this member. And then what I've been doing is making a point of following up with Mr. Van Wagner. I did meet with that person, and then this is what we talked about. And I hope staff is doing the same, that we're all holding each other accountable. So I just wanted to own my own stuff in that, and put that out there.
Mr. Wall, while we're talking about records requests, I'm a little. Are you saying as council members we can't submit record requests?
No, what I'm saying is, because the charter prohibits, the opposite, Mayor. Because the charter prohibits council members from giving direction.
Right.
It says that, members can make points of inquiry with staff.
Okay.
And as I've said in my email to all of y'all, it's not my intention to get in the way of whatever relationships you want to have and should have with staff. But when a council member, for example, as Councilmember Strange was saying, like if she wrote an email, if anyone wrote an email and said to Mr. Ortel over here, like, get me a report on this, get me the numbers on this, that's technically the city manager's purview to give instructions on that. But it could be construed as a public records request, right? It's going to someone at the city. It's saying, I'd like to see these records. And so I don't really see it as a willful violation of the charter. I view it as a public records request, if that makes sense. I'm not saying it's prohibited. I'm saying it's absolutely allowed.
I'm just saying because, I mean, I don't have no problem. Every time I need something, to send it straight to him, they have to do it, and he'd be inundated with requests. But just asking for information, I've always thought as a council member, as a citizen, I can ask for it. I can pick up the phone as a citizen and call in the department head and say, hey, can you provide me this without going to?
And that's the point of inquiry, you know, for example. So if you're asking, hey, can I find out what this is? That's a point of inquiry. It's allowed under the charter.
Okay.
It's just a difference between direction. I know it seems like semantics, but that's what you have a city attorney for. I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm just trying to get some other, I heard her say she did a records request, and I'm like, okay, we have to do records requests through the city manager now and everything, yeah.
Well, and to that end, because I understand your perspective, I obviously share it, or I wouldn't have requested the information. You know, on reflection, we have power. You know, we're council members. We do have access to directors, and we are their boss's boss. And so, you know, when I had the conversation with our attorney, I said, well, that, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. And so I think that we should be mindful of, I think it is good practice to be mindful that if we have anything other than a general inquiry, other than, you know, a friendly or cordial conversation with directors, I think it puts everybody in a better position if our primary point of contact is the city manager. Again, I don't have any problem, and what I am doing at this point is I would say, you know, hey, Mr., you know, I call him Rick. I do. I say, Rick, I have a question. Do you mind if I meet with, and I'll say Scott. You mind if I meet with Scott? I have a question about this budget item. Sure, he always says yes. I meet with Scott, and then I follow up. Hey, I met with him, and these were my questions and my concerns. And especially if I have something that maybe I'm not happy with the result of it, I think it's better that I say that to Mr. Van Wagner than that I say that to Mr. Boer, because now it's hard enough to have 5 bosses, but now if all the department heads have 5 bosses, that's just miserable. So if I've ever done that to any of you, call it a rookie mistake, and I've learned. But I do think that that's good practice, because if we were just citizens, odds are we would not be going to department heads to ask for documents. I mean, we might try, but we probably wouldn't be able to.
I did.
Well, and I think the city manager also has discretion as well to say, look, why don't you meet with Scott Borer about this as well? I mean, there's not some wall, like the wall between church and state or something like that. So, yeah.
There is a wall.
Okay. That's all I have to. Thank you. Councilmember Bain.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 things that just came up. So with the P&Z reports, that was something when I chaired P&Z that we talked about, that we wanted as a commission to have a summary that wasn't just the minutes, that gave a summary of the results of the items on our agenda, and also some bullet points about the arguments for or against, or concerns that were brought up, amendments that were made. And that was something I did as chair. It's not something that's required. I think that I found it to be beneficial for you all as council members when I was P&Z chair to have that information, because it prompted some questions that maybe would not have come up before. And I think that if the current P&Z and the current chair, Mr. Colby, wants to continue that, either he could do that as chair or appoint someone on P&Z to do it and to still have that. But I think them hearing that that's something that we would benefit from and continue to benefit from, maybe then prompts Mr. Henschel or someone else to have that conversation that they already have with the P&Z chair, to see if that's something that they'll put on the agenda and discuss, and see if they'll continue to do for us. Because I do find it to be, I found it to be beneficial even on that side of the dais. And then with regard to the question about the charter and so forth, I think, where that differentiation lies is that charter talks about council members versus general public. The charter can't tell the general public that you can or can't, ask a question. And so we do have that different standard. And I kind of look at it more from the standpoint, is it direction or is it a question? Is it information or is it a report? Because for me, if I called up Mr. Boer and said, could you tell me what line item I could find this budget? That's just I'm just asking the information, the question. But if you could repair 10 years worth of that same light item and compare it to now I'm asking him to do work that actually is taking a direction from me. And that I kind of use that as the example of where then I would go to the city manager and say, Mr. City Manager, would you be willing to have Mr. Boer do this report? And quite honestly, give it to all of us because I think it might be something beneficial for all of us. That's usually like the standard that I use in my brain with it to try to help me. And I think it is good just to have that clarification because sometimes it's unintentional. It just comes up. But other times I do think we have to be very cognizant about because of that role we're in and we are their boss's boss, that they're going to want to please just out of doing good because they're good people and also the realities of the circumstances. And so I don't want to put them in a spot where they don't want to say no and be uncomfortable. And I think that's maybe where if it's potentially that could create that, it should just go to the city manager and have his office handle that. It's kind of how I've operated it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. City Attorney, if that's...
No, it's a good example.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
I'll steal it.
You have my permission. I brought up yesterday in my agenda review meeting and on social media some issue and concern about the most recent utility bill. And I wanted to bring it up to talk about it here today too. So I think at last count we have over 5,000 of our customers who are in the auto pay program. And with that new auto pay program, there's no longer verbiage on our utility bill that says something like what it used to say, direct debit, do not pay. And it said those words in two different locations. It said it on the top portion that a person might keep for their files of the bill. And it said it where you tear on the bottom and remit that with a check or bring that into City Hall. And it doesn't say that in either spot now. So when I got my most recent bill this past week, I looked at it and thought, well, I thought we enrolled in the auto pay. Why do I owe a bill? And I happened to be talking to the person who was working out front here, and a person came in, a resident, and they had the same question. And they directed him to utility billing. So I know it's on the radar of the city manager and the finance director who oversees that area, but I just want to make sure that the general public understands too that that's something that we have to deal with, and I hope that we can find a solution. It looks like we used to be able to customize our bills for people who were in direct debit, and I hope we can find a way to customize that for the auto pay. And if we could get some pretty quick action on that before maybe next bills go out, so that we avoid a lot of folks either sending in checks and paying twice, having to do reimbursements, it just adds a lot of, I think, angst and frustration for staff and not only and for our residents. And if it's okay with the city manager, I see Mr. Boer standing up, and I think he might have something he wants to say. So if it's okay with you, sir, I'm totally fine with that.
Be glad to provide an update for you.
Oh, great.
Earlier today, I did have a meeting with our assistant director, Jenny Cassidy, and our utility billing manager, Dana Wiseman. It is about an 8-week process, but we do have, in addition to that request, a couple other items that we're going to ask them to do. There's a small cost associated with it, but it's completely within our budget. But I was told it's about an 8-week process to turn that around.
Okay, so that should be something where we get some verbiage
Yeah.
that would really tell someone if they're in auto pay, they don't actually have to pay this bill by
Something along
tearing
those
on the
lines.
bottom and writing
Correct.
a check kind of thing. Okay.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'll wrap myself out again. I was one of the late registrants to the auto pay
Mhm.
from the direct debit. So my inquiry would be, can we use the text notification system that I know was filtering those of us who are taking too long to get into the system to maybe communicate to those who are in the system, hey, this has come to our attention. Please, you're in the auto pay system. This will be updated. Something to give people that heads up that, they are, obviously we think we paid it, but it's the first time. So maybe we could send out a text communication. Is that something we could do?
My understanding is, yes, we could do that. Just a side note, but related, one of the challenges that we have with this new system is under auto pay, all of the individual account holders can choose their payment date. So to put out blanket statements on a bill or otherwise becomes problematic. Because you, Councilmember Bain, may choose to pay on the 10th, whereas Councilmember Strange may pay on the 14th or whatever it is. So we've had to hedge against that. But as I said, efforts are underway to help with the language.
Well, and I appreciate that. And that's, I only brought it up here so that, because I know if I felt that, I saw it someone else, we talked about it in our meeting yesterday, others had brought it up. I'm sure it's circulating through as people are opening their mail and getting into paying their bill and going to have these questions and concerns. And I'm happy to hear that we're going to do something to address it, and we're already on it. And obviously we have to work within the time frame that the company gives us, but we're on that page, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you both.
Mr. Scott, before you go, I'm sorry. I heard you say you can choose your payment dates now.
If you are enrolled in the auto pay program, you can, sir, yes.
So I guess one of my concerns there is, because we have different pay cycles, if I choose a later date than my late notice or whatever, how do that work? Do we change their payment date or what? Can they change their payment?
No, the cycle is dictated by geography.
Okay.
Where they are at physically within the city. And the due dates are attached to each of those cycles.
Okay.
If a user does choose a date outside it, there's the potential for penalties to be assessed if they're late, and then ultimately a cutoff.
So if they still choose a date outside their pay date, because that's one of the complaints I hear is the fact that I don't get my check until this time of the month. My bill is due at this time of the month, and I don't have the money, so I end up paying late fee.
Right.
So I think in the past we used to say that you'd be able to change the billing date, but you said we can't do that anymore.
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So another potential problem.
Along the lines of kind of updates and conversations, over the last, week and a half, 10 days or more, where we had the pre-workshop meetings at various points throughout the community and all the DPZ workshops, it's come up in conversations about really kind of how little we've talked about and talked about updates related to our downtown, whether it's our streetscapes, our regional waste collection program, the De Hoyos property and where we are with that transaction. And so I would like to ask if we could, of the city manager, to give us an update, and I'm happy to provide some things in writing so you don't have to write all this down, to get some updates on that, because it's really strange to me how we had all this emphasis and conversation, and there's a lot of conversation out there about what is happening and why aren't things happening more so than what is happening, who's behind what, and I don't like when there's misinformation out there about what we're doing as a community, because I think ultimately what that does is it hurts our business owners and our property owners in the downtown area. And we need to be above that in all we do. And whether we support in terms of a vote or not, we have to then support our folks in this area. That's our part of our job, I see, is to be chief cheerleader of our community. And so if it's Mr. City Manager, I'm happy to give you some information here relative to just some things that I thought about, and maybe we can engage the CRA, because I think that was one thing we had in our last CRA meeting, was kind of a conversation about how can we be more inclusive of our CRA. I know the way we have it set up by state law is that it's basically the council and two people, but those two people provide really valuable input and perspective. And if we can have more regular CRA meetings, even if it is the ability for us to have conversations and updates and viewpoints on what's happening in the downtown area, I think that would be beneficial. And then finally, I know Councilmember Myers talked a little bit about us providing some information relative to recognizing someone during African American History Month. And, I think a lot of people came to mind when I thought about some historical figures that I'd like to talk about. And Vel Phillips, Mary McLeod Bethune, even local leaders like Senator Geraldine Thompson or S.T.E. Pinckney, the first black commissioner and mayor of Eustis, Donald Longworth, the first black person to hold office in Lake County, to ever be to hold Lake County, and that was in 1977. And to even Harry T. Moore, who played a really pivotal role in investigating and working through and bringing attention to the Groveland 4 tragedy. But I chose Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman elected to Congress. She was elected in 1968, 6 years before women gained full financial independence and could even open an account, including a credit card or a loan. So think about that for a second. 6 years before that was allowed, she ran for as a black woman and won election to the U.S. Congress. She was also a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus. Prior to Congress, she was elected to the New York State Assembly in 1964. She was also the first black candidate for a major party nomination for President of the United States when she sought the Democratic Party's nomination in 1972. She was known throughout her career as being a champion for economic, social, and political justice, and she was a strong supporter of civil rights and women's rights. And I really loved her campaign theme. Her campaign theme was "Bring Us," but it was the U.S. Bring us together. And her slogan was "Unbought and Unbossed." And those words were inscribed on her mausoleum vault when she passed away. During her campaign for president, her announcement for president, she described herself as a representative of the people. And she offered a new articulation of American identity. And I wanted to read this quote from her. She said, quote, "I am not the candidate of Black America, although I am black and proud. I am not the candidate of the women's movement of this country, although I am a woman, and I am equally proud of that. I am a candidate of the people, and my presence before you symbolizes a new era in the American political history." Powerful words. After elected to office, she was a college educator and remained politically active and social justice leader. She was actually nominated by President Clinton in 1993 to serve as United States ambassador to Jamaica, but she could not pursue that due to her health. She had already relocated to Florida by then, and in 2005, at age of 80, she died at her home in Ormond Beach after a series of strokes. President Obama awarded her posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2015. So I appreciate the opportunity to share and celebrate Black History Month with my fellow council members and the community at large today. And thank you, Councilmember Myers, for the invitation to do so. And that is my report.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Myers.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to follow suit with who I'm going to highlight. Do you have the pictures? Okay. The African American I want to highlight for Black History Month is my mentor, the late Geraldine Thompson. She was an educator in public schools, then went to work at Valencia College as the director of the Equal Opportunity Office. She was elected to the Florida House of Representatives from 2006 to 2012, and again from 2018 to 2022. She was elected to the Florida Senate, serving from 2012 to 2016, and returning in 2022 until her passing last year. Throughout her time in office, Senator Thompson represented areas including Pine Hills, Paramore, Carver Shores, Horizon Rest, Oakland, Winter Garden, Gotha, Ocoee, Lake Buena Vista, parts of Apopka, parts of Windermere, Dr. Phillips, Orange County Convention Center, and Walt Disney World. Senator Thompson initiated and saw bills passed to exonerate the Groveland Four. She also pursued to have compensation to James Richardson, who was wrongfully incarcerated for 22 years. She also fought against discrimination against pregnant women in the workplace. Her leadership extended across key legislative committees, including the Appropriations Committee on Pre-K through 12 Education, where she worked to improve public education funding, access, and quality. She also served on the Fiscal Policy, Judiciary, Military and Veteran Affairs, Space and Domestic Security, and Rules Committees, ensuring that Floridians received strong ethical representation in the government. She established the Wells-built Museum of African American History and Culture to ensure the legacy of Black pioneers in Orlando and throughout Florida would never be forgotten. As chairman of the Florida Museum of Black History's Task Force, she labored to create a permanent institution dedicated to telling the rich and untold stories of African American contributions. She was married to her loving husband, Judge Emerson Thompson Jr., for 54 years. Their marriage produced 3 children, 7 grandkids, and 1 great-grandson. She was my mentor, a wonderful woman. After spending time with her, she made you feel like you can fly. I'm sorry, I miss her. And I also want to mention the passing of the great civil rights leader, Jesse Jackson. I would like to also ask for us to have a proclamation for Women's History Month for the month of March. In doing this, I would like to highlight the women in leadership here that work in the city of Clermont during the month of March. Maybe have their picture on the website with their name and their title and mentioning them while we have our council meetings. And I thank you all and thank you again for participating. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Mathis.
Mayor, I have nothing to add beyond that. I can't follow that. Thank you.
Okay, in that case, I guess I give my report. Wow. First of all, I think he left already. It was quite touching to hear Mr. Schultz talk about military combat, and of course it bothers me a little bit too, because you know I am one of those that served in combat and everything, and I have issues whenever you start talking about it. So it is very touching, and I always say to most people, every person that went in the military ought to be receiving some recognition that PTSD is real. And it's something they do to us from the minute you say yes and sign that dotted line, you know. You step off the bus and they start brainwashing you, hollering at you and carrying on, and all. So it affects you, and you carry them things with you the rest of the life. And I can truly understand where he was coming from. I've been there, okay. Mr. Van Wagner and the council, one of the things I have been noticing in the last 2 or 3 months, with city council meeting being at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we having problem. I think we have a little bit of problem with parking out here in the parking lot. I have no problem parking anywhere, but we're starting to hold parking spaces out there for council members and other people, I guess. But I would like to request that we reserve the 2 parking spaces next to the handicap out here for customers. Yeah, I hear they're coming in to pay the water bills, the utility bills. I really noticed it again today when I come in. It happened to be 2 or 3 people come in and looked like they was trying to pay a bill, but we had the parking lot blocked off, coned off, okay? That's another problem we have with 3 o'clock. You got workers here and everybody else trying to park in this parking lot, so yeah, parking at a premium. But I still think we need to make sure we have spaces out there available for our customers to come in and pay their bills, okay? So I'm asking the council to consider going ahead and let's mark those off and say customer, utility customers only, please, okay? And Ms. Sharon Keys, she said something about she don't belong here. People been attacking her saying she don't belong here. And let me say, you know, I'm gonna piggyback off that because I've been getting some of the same comment, and it bothers me because of the fact that the ones they're coming from is people that never just moved here. I was born and raised here, okay? And I have people coming into this city, my hometown, and trying to tell me I need to leave. That's concerning to me. And it's getting to be worse every day, okay? I'm sorry that Ms. Keys had to deal with it. I don't usually say much about it, but when she brought it up, I can totally agree with it because I get it every day. I get attacked on a regular basis, but I usually ignore it, you know. Some people ask me, how can I deal with it? Well, you know, I remember the times when I was living here, when I was raised here, I was called names. I had to go in the back door places, and I couldn't go here, I couldn't go there. I had to drink out of different water fountain, and I thought we had overcome that in this city, okay? And that's why I feel so proud to be the first black to sit here on this dais as the mayor of the city and to have our first black female sitting here and everything, because I thought we had come so far. But now when I'm hearing, not just from her, but I hear it from other people out there, it's just bothering me. It bothers me quite a bit. So we need to, I don't know what we need to do to try to fix that and everything, but we need to do something about trying to fix it. And it just aggravates me that so many people have moved into our cities and then try to dictate how we run our city. Okay. You know, they tell us we got too many people moving in here, and like they come to me a lot of time about this and that, about traffic. And one of the things I like to ask them, how long have you been here? They say, oh, 2-3 years. Well, aren't you part of the problem? So why are you complaining? You moved here as well, okay? So let's try to get along, is what I'm saying, you know? Move on, get along. If you found a piece of history, you moved here, so let's all of us just come together and get along and keep going. I attended the Fallen Heroes 5K on Saturday. I think, Mr. Bain, you were there as well. It was very enlightening and heartening and heartfelt for me, because to see how many people was out there Saturday participating. And thinking back when this first started, 4 or 5 years ago, I think we had less than 100 people in this race the first time we did it. And Saturday, when I stepped out there and I see all them people in the street full, and it was over almost, I'm thinking, well, they told me 675 participants on Saturday. That made me feel good and honored and just felt so warm inside and everything beside it. And that goes back to giving the police department credit as well for promoting it and really promoting this and getting the publicity out and reaching out to all the different agencies. I think I asked the chief down there Saturday how many different agencies were represented, and I think he told me about 7 different agencies that was actually there. I don't know how many different agencies was actually participating in the run, because they do not register, but it's just heartfelt and everything. And I hope next year all of us can be out there and try to participate. I didn't run Saturday. I walked. But it was great to be there and see it go off. Okay. Mayor's luncheon will be next Tuesday. I'm at IHOP. I guess next Tuesday supposed to be National Pancake Day. So I'll be at IHOP. If y'all want pancakes, I guess they're doing a special thing at IHOP on next Tuesday and everything. Talk about parking, we talk about it, come back. Mr. Van Wagner, I must say this, I would call Mr. Scott up a while ago and everything, so to ask him, he was wanting to come up and ask that question, so I just want to let you know I did that. And keep in mind, when I do them in these meetings, I look at Mr. Ward, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I mean, council meeting is my meeting, and I think I had a right to invite people up to the, without having to go through Mr. Van Wagner, if I'm not mistaken, right? I want to try to get some rules there.
You're in charge of the meeting, Mayor. I mean, I think, of course, you can do an invite, and if the invite is accepted, I don't think anyone needs to stand on ceremony.
Yeah.
I think ultimately the city manager does have authority over the employees. So, I mean, I can't imagine a scenario, but if you wanted someone to come up and speak and the city manager didn't want that employee to come and speak, the city manager authority would control, but I pray to God that we never have a situation like that, and so far we haven't.
No. Okay, thank you. I just want to verify. And the other, we had Mr. Famasi, I guess he gave you a thing and asked for investigation of me. That's fine. If you want to try it, if you want to do, well, first of all, You're welcome to investigate me all you want. It doesn't matter. I know you actually work for me, so I don't know if you can do that or not, but anyway.
Well, I will address that, Mayor. I mean, I think, first of all, I'm not going to do an investigation on my own. If the city council wanted some kind of investigation into anyone on this council, then that would be a matter that the city council could take up. It would have to be by majority vote, and no, I would not do it. The city council would have to appoint what we call a special counsel, someone who does not work directly with you or the other council members, because I represent all of you in my capacity as the city attorney. The request, I mean, I'm reading it. I think it's a copy of an email that I've already received. But that's the way it would work. And sometimes cities do these kinds of things if they think there's some kind of corruption. Of course, I don't have any authority, and the city council doesn't have any authority to determine whether ethical violations have been made. That's a matter for the Commission on Ethics. I think what I'm reading is that this is an allegation regarding violation of Section 3.05 of the Clermont City Charter, which I've already addressed. So I don't know if that helps give guidance, but no, it's not something that I can or will do.
Well, I'll say two incidents that struck me. I don't think I was present at the May meeting. I believe that refers to an instruction to our planning and zoning director to provide and hold a document that was later presented in a way that, as I understood from the public, caused some controversy relative to the relationship between our council and our city manager. Which was, I mean, look, it was I didn't say anything at the time. I wouldn't have said anything at the time. But I do recall in December, it seemed our police chief, the way it appeared to me was that our police chief had been instructed. And then there was a gentleman who held himself out as the general counsel for the police department to provide guidance to us on fireworks. And I don't believe, Mr. Van Wagner, were you aware of that instruction or the preparation of that report?
No.
And then at the last meeting, there was an interaction relative to direction for a report that Mr. Henschel acknowledged happened in a parking lot that Mr. Van Wagner was not familiar with. And do these give rise to ethical violations? I don't know. I think that the question is a fair question. I think the citizen's asking in the context of transparency. But I do think that those are instances that I've observed in the public forum where, I mean, one was on video later, but personally, two of them, where the city manager was caught off guard by a staff member being asked to take action at a council meeting. And I don't think we should put the staff or our city manager in that position. And I think that is, if I understand the complaint, I believe the May meeting is the one that I wasn't present at. And I think that would, I mean, I heard about that from the public, which was why I watched the meeting later. But I think those are the issues. And I do think that we should be mindful of what the agenda says, and that the city manager should be advised if I just generally think we should be advising the city manager anytime we're going to do something that steps into direction with his staff. So I think those are the issues. I don't think it's a one-time thing. I'm not sure that don't know that I'm even making a suggestion of any action, but I am saying that those are examples I've seen that I think could at least be perceived as crossing a line.
Thank you. As I say, Mr. Waugh, if you all decide you all want to do an investigation, go right ahead. Okay, I have no problem with it. I will not stand in the way of it, Mr. Waugh, or whatever you all decide.
Well, Mr. Murray, did I misinterpret the actions? Like, did I misunderstand? And then I guess my question would be, do you intend to continue to direct staff?
Again, just like tonight. We just had Mr. Scott come up and we asked him did we not ask him?
No, I don't have a problem
Basically,
with
that's
that.
all. When I do these things, and I don't know what you're talking about in May, but as far as the fireworks go, yes, I had concerns about fireworks, and I had talked to our chief, and because we had some concerns coming up about fireworks in the city. Okay, and I
Yeah.
wanted him to explain what's the real rules on fireworks. Okay, before we started, I saw you invaded during the holiday season with all these calls and everything else. What I do about this, what I do about that. Now, if that's a problem, that's fine. Okay, we can sit back and we can let our police department, whatever problems that are coming up with us, I can always run it right to Mr. Van Wagner and let him handle it. Okay, I don't have no problem. To be honest with you, one of the things I say all the time is the fact that he make the big bucks, not me. He's responsible for running the city, not me. Okay, I have no problem sending everything to him because that's what he get paid for.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
But
agree.
then there's some things that I have, a couple of things I have sent to him, I haven't gotten back. But I'm a patient person. See, and I feel like he got a handful and some minor things that I may call a staff member, program manager, and say, hey, here's what email I got, handle it. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to handle it. It's simple things. Why keep bombarding him with? Okay, but if everything need to go through him, I have no problem with it. But I don't. If they'll come back to me, a department head come back and tell me so and so and so or this, then I will go to him. Okay, but if I just ask him for some information, hey, can you give me some feedback on this situation? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
think if department heads are coming to any of us without going through the city manager, it is on us to let him know that they are coming to us, because that is going around the chain of command, so to speak, or the organizational hierarchy. And so, yeah, I think that this is perhaps an uncomfortable conversation, but again, sunshine, we sit in a fishbowl. We don't get the benefit of having some of these conversations one-on-one, which is good for the public and sometimes uncomfortable for us, but that's why we're in the kitchen, because we can handle the heat, right? Yeah. So, I would say that anything that gives the perception that we're directing staff, we should be mindful of. And I don't think inquiring in a public forum is any way inappropriate. I mean, we're effectively asking for permission to do it. But I do think that if we're giving a direction to prepare a report, that should be gone. That should go through. To your point, Mr. Bain, earlier about if we're asking them to do work, that should be going through the city manager.
Here's the other thing I have to contend with. People look at me as being the mayor. They think it's me responsible for everything going on in this city. So when they come to me and ask me something, I can say, hey, not me. Send it to the city manager.
Yeah,
Go to
that's
the
what
city
I
manager.
do. Yeah, I'd say, hey, let me get the city manager on this.
And
It's a great
I would
response.
have no problem with that because it'll make my life so much easier.
Yeah.
Okay. But then again, sometimes they standing there and they want answers. And see, and I'm gonna try to get an answer for them right there. See, and if it's something serious, I evaluate the situation. If it's something serious, I'll send it to the city manager, or whoever it need to go to. But if it's something I can just call somebody and say, hey, we got a problem over here with this trash pickup. Can you look at it? All right. Minor stuff. Why bother the city manager? It's done in 9 times 10. It's done. You move on. Okay. But if it's something serious and we need to bring it, trust me, I'm going to the city manager because I'm not going to tackle it on my own. That's what he get paid for. And I believe in trying to stay in my lane. Okay. One of the things I learned in 23 years of the military is, hey, we all have a job and we have to stay in our lanes to make sure the job is done right and to protect and save lives. And because when you start stepping outside your lanes and everything in the military, people die, okay? Yeah. And we got to watch that. Okay, but I have no problem with it. All right, I don't think I ever give I call and ask for information or situations all the time with them out there so I can explain to customers what's going on. As a matter of fact, I think I just did it today with Mr. Wah to try to get some verified, because, hey, I was on the phone with him. Hey, is this what happened? Okay, fine. I don't need to go to city. He can tell me.
Yeah, Mr. Wah's our lawyer, so.
Yes, I am under your control.
Call him all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
I don't let Mr. Van Wagner know when I'm calling Mr. Wah.
But yeah, any minor stuff like that, I think I can get resolved real quick and not have to bother the city manager. I'm gonna do it. I did it today. Hey, call the people back and say, you're right, this is the situation. I just confirmed it with the city attorney. Okay. That's all I have to say about it and everything, but you're all welcome, but then again, like I said, I would really like to consider having reserved parking out there for the customer park in them first two parking spaces out front, if y'all can consider it. All right, in recognition of Black History Month, I'm always trying to recognize our people we have here in Clermont, and I'm honored today. The person I want to recognize is Captain Donnie Crocker, and a true trailblazer, patriot, and man of faith. Captain Cochran is a former naval aviator in the United States Navy who made history in 1986 as the first black pilot selected to fly with the Navy's elite flight demonstration squadron, the Black Angels. In 1994, he broke barriers once again when he became the first black commanding officer and flight leader of the Blue Angels, a powerful symbol of excellent courage and perseverance. Let me add there, in the whole 70, I think it's about 74 years of the Blue Angels, there's only been 3 black pilots total. Even in the since he broke the barrier, there's only been 2 other black pilots in the Blue Angels. Born on July 6, 1954, on a farm near Pelham, Georgia, Captain Cochran's journey is one of determination and faith. He graduated in 1976 from Savannah State University, which was then known as Savannah State College, with a degree in engineering technology, and earned his commission through the NROTC program. He later graduated from the Air War College and earned a master's degree from Troy State University. In 2022, he was inducted into the Georgia Aviation Hall of Fame, a well-deserved recognition of a life marked by excellence and service. Today, we are blessed to call Captain Cochran a resident of Clermont. He continued to inspire others through motivational speaking and faithful service at New Jacob Chapel Missionary Baptist Church. His life reminds us that with faith in God, commitment to education, and an unwavering discipline, there are no limits to how high we can soar. Captain Cochran is my Black hero, Black History Month hero, because he didn't just break barriers, he lifted them up. He lifted others as he climbed. Okay, so I'd like to just take the time to recognize Captain Cochran. I think he just had a time with Mr. Kirk out there not long ago, but he, if you want him to speak, he's willing to come out and speak. I think I had him speaking with the Boys and Girls Club, and I still get, every time they see me, some of the members of the Boys and Girls Club still remember those days. So it's good to have somebody right in our own midst that living among us, as we call ourselves choice of champions. Okay, to have somebody that we can recognize and all. And we have a lot of trailblazers and heroes living here, and mention Women's Month next month. I can think of one. We just named the school after Aurelia Cole, and that that speaks a lot, because the county has a policy that they do not name schools after individuals no more. So for us to be able to go through and fight and get that done when we got it done, that speaks a lot and must say a lot. So that's one of our own that's grew up right here in Clermont. She no longer is with us, but she was one of them I recognize as well. Thank you. And that's all I have. Anyone else? Anything else need to come before the good of the city? Seeing nothing else, meeting.